Welcome back to Stack Shack Sports. Today we're talking about the college football playoff and the college football national championship game. Michigan and Washington, the two higher seeds, not necessarily the two favorites though, come in to this game for what should be an amazing game on Monday, January 8th. Very excited about this. I am a huge college football fan. I probably like it even a little bit more than pro, although we talk a little more pro than college on the podcast. But today I thought I'd review the last two games and talk about what I think is going to happen in the national championship game. So let's start with the first game of the day, which was Alabama and Michigan. What a thriller. Honestly, both games were fantastic. Both games were exactly what you look for in a college football matchup, and both games turned out really, really well. Michigan gets the win in overtime. A lot of comments online about Alabama's final play call. So let's talk about that final play call here. So here it is, the final play of the game. 4th and goal in overtime. Got to have a touchdown, and that's the play they ran. And Michigan celebrates. Go back here so we can watch this again. I personally hate this play call. Now, it's not the best snap, and it's actually blocked okay, except for 0. 0 comes free, and this play is supposed to go into that gap there. Right? There's the path right there to run through. But 0, because he got upfield and beat past, Milroe instead goes right into the middle where there's nothing. Also, I think the bad snap messed up the timing of that, because if that snap's better, he's ahead of 0 and is able to maybe get through, and maybe they score. It is very possible that they score there if the snap is correct. All right, let's watch it again. Bad snap here. I mean, that's down at his feet. Alabama had trouble snapping the ball all game. If that snap is better and he's able to immediately start running instead of taking that step back, he's probably a yard or two ahead, and there's a very good chance that he can follow this guard in, or tackle in, and maybe he kicks it out. And maybe they score, because 77 didn't have anybody to block. But 0 makes a big play in getting upfield and making it seem like there wasn't room there. Because there's no way 9 gets past 77. And he's not paying attention, right? He's got flat responsibility. All that to be said, I hate this play call. And here is why. At the end of a game like this, when it's a 4th and goal situation, this is the last play of the game. If you don't score a touchdown. This is it. There's no getting around it. I like a play call that gives your team and your quarterback multiple ways to score. You gotta have an option to get out of it. This play, a quarterback draw, because there's really, yes, the wide receivers are kind of going out and there is somebody in the flat, but that's just misdirection to be a quarterback draw. This is a run play. And there's only one person. There's no read option here. There's no option to pass. It is truly just a run play. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. Especially from the 3-yard line. Maybe at the goal line, you do, a quarterback sneak, you do something like that. You have the running back lead block and just try and power in. I could understand that a little better. But from the 3-yard line, doesn't make any sense. I like a play where you have some options. Give yourself multiple ways to win. The only way they win is if the snap is correct, the blocking is perfect, and the defense doesn't fill the gaps correctly. I don't like that. I would much rather have a read option situation That way you could read zero. Imagine if it was a read option towards zero, and zero had to pick between the quarterback and the running back. Might have been a little better. But even not read option, I prefer bootleg, something that gets your quarterback moving. Something that gets your quarterback moving out of the pocket, moving side to side. Give the quarterback some options. If there's a blown coverage, easy throw. If there's not, I would much rather have Milroe run into the corner against zero than running into the defensive tackle. Milroe's a big guy. Give him a chance to run over a DB at the pylon. Give him multiple targets to throw to. Let there be some options. This play is just boring. There's only one way this works. There's only one option. It's literally empty backfield. The only misdirection is the threat of a pass, and then you run right down the middle. Roll out. Give your quarterback some options. Maybe you get a pass interference call, and then it's a new set of downs. There's very few options here for the defense to make a mistake when you run a play like this. Give your team some options. So I really did not like the call, but Michigan was definitely the better team. I don't want to take this away and say, oh, Michigan didn't deserve to win. Michigan absolutely deserved to win. They were the better team throughout the entire game. The only thing that was bad for Michigan was special teams. And boy, were special teams atrocious. We had muffed punts. We had people missing field goals, bad snaps. Special teams together is the only reason Alabama was in this game, because Michigan's were so bad. You don't have those bad snaps and bad holds on the kicks. Michigan wins by another 6 points, right? We had 2 missed field goals because of that. So Michigan was the better team. Michigan really kind of dominated Alabama. They did what I expected. I actually did not think it was going to be this close. The special teams mishaps and turnovers and things, that kept Alabama in it, right? But without those, if Michigan had played a clean special teams game, this game is not even as close as it was, right? This game definitely doesn't go to overtime. Instead, we end up with probably, give them an extra 6 points, 33-13 or something. And it's not even a competition. Okay. So that's kind of where I sit on this game. It was a hard fought game, a good game, really exciting. It's why you love college football. NFL is a cleaner game. They're pros. They're better. It's a better product, right? As far as the talent on the field, obviously. But college is just different because you have these kids and they play so hard and their careers are on the line. They're trying to impress. They'll live in infamy or in adulation from the fans, right? Whether they play it correctly or not. A lot of people are going to question that call at the end of the game by Alabama. I think it's a dumb call, but Alabama was not the better team. That's why Michigan, didn't try and go for 2 or anything in the fourth quarter to try and, pull away. That's how it works. Michigan, definitely the better team, although they almost gave it away because of the special teams. So moving on to our Washington-Texas game. Holy smokes, another great game. This game also played out, I think, how I expected it. And the Michigan-Alabama game, I thought Michigan was going to win by a larger margin. I thought they were going to kind of dominate Alabama. Because of the special teams, they didn't really do it. Washington and Texas went about how I thought it would. Texas chasing Washington all game. Washington gets out to the lead. Texas never led in this game. They were just catch up, tie, as Washington stormed away because Texas's DBs could not handle Penix, Odunze, and the rest of the Washington receivers. Now, in this one as well, Washington, it's kind of funny, the winning teams both had some special teams issues. So Washington muffs the punt. It gives Texas an opportunity to get in this. And at the end of the game, Texas almost came down and scored there. Now, we'll talk about the play calling at the end of that game. And, some heat on Sark as the coach, play caller. I don't understand why he's getting so much flack. I think it's from previous years and things of that nature. This year, Texas was good. He's rebuilding Texas. And, last season, they couldn't beat Alabama. Now, I would argue that that's because Quinn Ewers got hurt in that game, and they were on a backup quarterback. But then this season, with Ewers in for the entire game, he gets the win over Alabama, right? So, good season for Texas. They do lose to Washington. Unfortunate for them, but I think coaching was fine. There were a few extra penalties on Texas, but, I mean, if you want to talk about coaching, Michigan, problems on special teams. Alabama can't snap the ball. They can't snap the ball. How many? Probably 12 bad snaps in that game. It's ridiculous. Washington muffs a punt, does dumb things on special teams themselves. Texas had a few extra penalties. These are 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old kids playing football in the biggest games of their lives. They're going to make some mistakes. So I can't fault Sark too much for the couple extra penalties. I think his play calling at the end was pretty good. I think the quarterback play was not great. We'll go to the final play in this game. There was a bit of controversy as well. 4th and 11, 1 second left. This is the last play unless there's a defensive penalty. There you go. Washington wins. Great play by the DB to bat this ball away. I think they might show a replay. I don't think they do. But good play by the DB if we go back here and watch this play again. To me, I don't have a problem with this play call. We complained about the Alabama play call. This play call is not a problem. You get your best receiver essentially one-on-one, and you throw it up to him. 25 jumps up and knocks the ball away, right? That's reasonable to me as far as a play call is concerned. The problem is, I'll pause it here. When Ewers threw the wrong route, he throws this ball as a fade route, and he really threw it too far out of bounds. And this wasn't the first time he did this. He did this on the previous plays as well. The swing pass is also a bad option. But this pass, if he throws this kind of back shoulder to the pylon, more on a rope than on a fade, this DB got beat. Absolutely got beat. Watch the route at the top of the play here. It's going to go off screen, but right here, you can tell there is massive separation here. If he throws this on a line to this corner, look at how much separation he could have come back on. Touchdown. Texas wins the football game. He instead throws a fade. And the receiver gives it a good shot. He gives it a good opportunity. He gives it a good old college try, we might say. But Quinn Ewers threw the wrong pass. And he did a couple of plays. I don't have the other plays exactly right now. But he made a couple of other throws there at the end that weren't great. And so that's unfortunate for Texas. Washington, again, I think was the better team in that game. Texas was playing catch-up the entire time. Washington absolutely deserved to win. They seemed to be the better team with the better quarterback, the better weapons. And their defense got enough stops. Now, this was always going to be a bad matchup for Texas. Texas's DBs do not match up well with Washington's passing offense. I would make an argument that I think Texas would have matched up better against Alabama or Michigan than they did against Washington. Washington was the team that Texas did not want to play, in my opinion. Texas would have much rather played Alabama or Michigan. They had to play Washington. Washington gets the win. So unfortunate for Texas that they drew that straw, but Washington was the better team. And if it had gone reverse and Texas had played Michigan, and Alabama had played Washington, Washington would have won that game against Alabama. And I think Texas might have beat Michigan, but they still would have then had to play Washington in the championship game, and they probably would have lost because their DBs just do not match up well against Washington. Which brings us to what is the national championship game. These are the two undefeated teams all season, minus Florida State. We've had plenty of discussions on that. Don't want to get into their bowl game showing. Everybody knows that wasn't the Florida State team that would have been in the playoff. Just like Ohio State, just like every team that wasn't in the playoff that had all of these opt-outs. It's not the same team. So that's kind of a non-starter as far as discussing that. But we get these two undefeated teams, Michigan and Washington, showdown here on Monday. Very excited about it. This is not the best matchup for Washington. Washington was rooting for Alabama to win that game because Washington matches up much better against Alabama than they do against Michigan. Michigan has the DBs. They're not, I wouldn't want to say they're going to just shut down Washington. They won't. Washington's going to score points. They're that good of an offense. But Michigan is substantially better in the defensive backfield compared to Texas. Michigan's offense is better built to control the game and beat Washington than Texas was. Texas was playing catch-up because it was a shootout the entire game. They threw the ball a lot. I mean, we can look at the Ewers numbers. He threw it 43 times. He threw it more times than Penix did. Michigan can run the ball. And that is going to be dangerous for Washington because Michigan is almost uniquely built to beat Washington. And probably the reason is their main rival, Ohio State. So who is Michigan built to beat? Ohio State. Beat the next best team in your conference. Your biggest rival. Got to beat Ohio State. So Michigan is built to beat Ohio State. What is Ohio State typically? In years past. Great wide receivers, great quarterback. I mean, C.J. Stroud, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Jones Jr. Right? We go through this list. That, and you could even go further back. They've always, I would say up until this season, really had great quarterback play and great wide receiver play in recent memory. The quarterback play was maybe not quite as good this season, but wide receiver play, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is an absolute beast. But Michigan's built to beat that. What is Washington? Great quarterback play and great wide receiver play. Michigan is going to come into this game and they're going to try and, contain Washington's offense. They're not going to completely do it, though. Washington will score some points in this game. And this is why if you look at the betting odds, you might want to take Washington plus the points. I think Michigan's about a 4.5-point favorite right now. We're going to do a betting episode at the end of the week with my best bets of the week. We'll talk about it. I'm not sure if I'm going to put this one in there, but depending on how the line moves, we might be taking Washington plus the points just because I think they'll be able to keep it close. But Michigan is going to come into this game with a game plan to try and slow down Washington's offense, obviously. I don't think they're going to be super successful because I think Penix is by far the better quarterback in this matchup. He's fantastic. And those wide receivers are awesome. But what Michigan's going to do on offense is probably going to be more telling than what they do on defense. I think Michigan's going to come in on offense. McCarthy is almost never going to throw it. They are going to boa constrictor. We're going to have a replay of the Penn State game where they just run the ball over and over and over and over again. They're built to do it. Corum, Edwards, two-headed monster, just coming straight downhill over and over and over. It's going to be old school Jim Harbaugh, Stanford, McCaffrey ball. Just run the ball right down their throat. That, I think, is what's going to happen for Michigan. They are just going to boa constrictor Washington. If I were to pick who I actually think is going to win this game, I think I would give the edge to Michigan. Again, Washington plus the points is very tempting to me. We'll see where that line moves. But Michigan is almost uniquely built to beat Washington in that they can keep Penix and that high-powered passing offense off the field. Limit the number of possessions by playing ball control offense and the best defense that they possibly can. Washington will not score every possession. There will be mistakes or pass breakup or a penalty. Unless Washington's offense plays perfectly, which I doubt they would, right? If Michigan can clean up the special teams. Now, if Michigan blows to special teams like they did against Alabama, Washington's winning this game, right? The problem with Alabama is they couldn't move the ball or score unless Michigan really gave them stuff, right? Like we said, one of the touchdowns kind of because of special teams issues, and then 2 field goals were missed because of special teams issues for Michigan. So that's a 13-point swing right there, just on special teams for Michigan. If they do that against Washington, Washington's winning this football game. They're not 13 points better than Washington. They were 13 plus 7 in the overtime, although that's kind of a inflated number, obviously. But they were a good 13 to 20 points better than Alabama. They're not that against Washington. Washington is a much better football team than Alabama, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Now, on the defense, I don't know if Washington can stop them. It's going to be, if you're looking for keys to the game, can Washington stop the run? If Washington can stop Michigan's run offense, Washington wins this game, because I don't think the defense can hold up for too long against Penix and those receivers. But if Washington can't stop the run, Michigan is just going to run all over them. Ball control, Penix is barely ever going to see the field. Michigan gets a win. I think it's closer than 4.5 points. We'll have to see where that line moves as we get closer to the end of the week. That's my thoughts on the games. That's my preview of the national championship game. Let me know down in the comments who you got winning the national championship game and what you thought about those 2 last-second calls for both games, both Alabama and Texas, with end-of-the-game calls with some controversy of maybe some misplays by the quarterbacks or the coaching staff. Let me know down below what you think, and we'll see you tomorrow.